Hello, dear children. Welcome to yet another YouTube session wherein we regularly discuss lessons of English Honeydew text and English Supplementary by the name It So Happened. So today I've decided to take the sixth lesson by the name The Fight. Okay. As the name suggests, it's going to be a crispy read. Now, before we begin, I would like to share a few details. This wonderful story is written by Ruskin Bond. You must have heard this name earlier as well. He's a wonderful story writer. He has written a number of stories which are appealing and people love his work to a great deal. Okay. So, without any further ado, let's begin the story called The Fight, written by Ruskin Bond. This story, to tell you few things, has been divided into parts. To be precise, it has been divided into two parts. Okay. Today, let's begin and see how far we can complete. Okay. We'll start off with part 1. The Fight. Here we go. Let's begin with the preface that we have in our expose. Okay. See, Ranji discovers a pool in the forest and plunges into it for a swim. So Ranji happens to discover a pool. There is serious trouble between him and someone else who has a right to the pool. So as a result, a fight ensues. Okay, the first round ends in a draw. Let's find out. This is going to be a promising read. Let me just zoom it up for you. Alright, I believe we are good to go here. Ranji had been less than a month in Rajpur when he discovered the pool in forest. It was the height of summer and his school had not yet opened, and having as yet made no friends in this Sammy Hill station, he wandered about a good deal by himself into the hills and forests that stretched away interminably means endlessly here. Okay, what does this word mean? It means endlessly. Okay, endlessly on all sides of the town. So Ranji, see, he had come to this place by the name Rajpur, and was discovering this place all by himself without having much friends. Okay, this place looked like semi hill station, not completely a hill station. So he wandered, means he roamed about all by himself, and was interminably, means endlessly, on all sides of the town. It was very, very hot at the time of the year, and Ranji walked about in his vest. Vest refers to ganji, the white, let's say sweat absorber cloth we put within, and shorts. His brown fit white with chalky dust that flew up from the ground. Okay, it was a summer season. As a result, he wore comfortable cloth. It was dusty as well. So the earth was parched. Parched means it was hot and dry. Quite wonderful words are there. The earth was hot and dry. The grass brown, the trees listless, hardly stirring, waiting for a cool wind or a refreshing shower of rain. So from the description, it is evident that it was summer season, and then it was unbearably hot. Okay, let's move on and read the paragraph that follows. Okay, it was such a good day, a hot, tired day, that Ranji found the pool in the forest. So now, like a boon in disguise, Ranji happens to find a pool in the forest, a water body. Okay, he finds a pool in the forest. Won't it be wonderful? The water had a gentle translucency. Translucency refers to clarity here. And you could see the smooth round pebbles. There would be some small stones at the bottom of the pool, which was clearly visible. Okay, a small stream emerged from the cluster. A small water body also emerged from cluster of rocks to feed the pool. Okay, So the source of water was, the cluster of rocks which kept pouring in the water, making it really wonderful place. So during the monsoon, this stream would be a gushing torrent. Okay, let's say rushing storm of water. So during monsoon, there'll be plenty of water. Okay, it will be cascading like, let's say, coming down like a waterfall. All right. So the writer basically is describing the water body which looks like as though it was a waterfall. Okay, during the monsoon, the rainy season, this stream would be a gushing torrent cascading down from the hills. But during the summer, it was barely a trickle. Means it was quite weak or thin flow of water. Okay, I believe it's clear up to here. So in the first two paragraphs, what we have learned, Ranji had come to this place by the name Rajpur and was exploring the place, and then he happens to find a pool which would offer fresh water. It was summer season, so it was a great delight for him to have discovered such a lovely place. Okay, so let's read further up. If you are reading this along with your book, I suggest you to open your book at page number 46. Okay. The rocks, however, held the water in the pool, and it did not dry up like the pools in the plains. Okay. Water holding capacity was impeccable. It would not dry like the water sources, let's say pond and all, in the plains. Okay, so when Ranji saw the pool, he did not hesitate to get into it. He had often gone swimming, alone or with friends, when he had lived with his parents in a thirsty town. Thirsty town means it basically refers to a town which had witnessed water scarcity, which was somewhere in the middle of Rajputana desert. Okay, there he had known only sticky, muddy pools where buffaloes wallowed. Wallowed means rolled about. The buffaloes, they have this tendency to wallow or roll about in dirty water. So his earlier experiences or previous exposure was to this, dirty pools, sticky, muddy pools where buffaloes would waddle and wallow and women would wash clothes. He had never seen such a wonderful or beautiful pool before, which was clean and cool and inviting. It was kind of inviting him to come and join. Okay, so what did he do? Without thinking anything, he leapt, he jumped into the water. His limbs were supple. Okay, his limbs were supple, free of any fat, and his dark body glistened in patches of sunlit water. Okay, so he was really excited. He was ready to jump into the pool. So the next day he came again to quench his body in the cool waters of the forest pool. So he enjoyed the first day, and then in order to enjoy a second shower or a second swim, he came the next day as well. Okay, he was there for almost an hour, sliding in and out of the limpid limpid green water, or lying stretched out on the smooth yellow rocks in shade of broad leaf sal trees. Okay, sal refers to trees, isn't it? So he was having time of his life wherein he was enjoying bathing in the pool of water. Okay, and then also enjoying the natural scenery. Let's say when he'd be stretching out on the smooth yellow rock in the shade of broadleaf sal tree. So it was while he lay thus he noticed another boy standing a little distance away, staring at him in rather hostile manner. Okay, so this boy was looking at him with a bit of hostility, let's say ill will, as though he wanted to threaten him. Okay, the other boy was a little older than Ranji. This boy was older, taller, thickest, with a broad nose and thick red lip. Okay. He had only just noticed Ranji, and when Ranji did not say anything, the other called out, "What are you doing here, mister?" So he called him, "What are you doing here?" Ranji was prepared to be friendly, was taken aback at the hostility of the other's tone. So Ranji thought, this man might be friendly, but his tone had a tone of anger. So he was taken aback, he was surprised. He said, "I'm swimming. Why don't you join me?" Okay, Ranjit seemed witty. "I always swim alone," said the other. "This is my pool. I did not invite you here." Okay, so he claimed that this pool was his. Alright. The stranger strode up onto Ranji, who still sat on the rock, and planting his broad feet firmly on the sand, said, as though this would settle the matter once and for all. Okay. "Don't you know I'm a warrior? I do not take replies from villagers like you." "So, you like to fight with the villagers?" said Ranji. "Well, I'm not a villager, I'm a fighter. I'm a warrior, I'm a fighter." This continued. Okay, they wanted to fight or something. But then a lot of verbal duel was going on. Alright. They had reached an impasse. Okay, some people pronounce it as impasse also. Deadlock means a situation wherein nothing was moving. Okay, one had said he was warrior, the other had proclaimed himself a fighter. It's warrior versus fighter. There was a little else that could be said. Means it was deadlock. Okay. "You understand that I am warrior," said this stranger, feeling that perhaps this information had not penetrated Ranji's head. So he repeated that he is a warrior. So Ranji replied, "I've heard you say it 3 times. Then why are you not running away?" So this man, was rather funny now. He said, "You have heard that I'm warrior. Why are you not running away? Aren't you worried?" He said, "I'm waiting for you to run away." "I will have to beat you," said the stranger, assuming a violent attitude, showing Ranji the palm of his hand. Okay, so he said, "I think I'm going to smack you now." Okay. "You will see me do it," said the other boy. So the other boy said, "Yeah, I'm waiting to see you do it." Ranji rather challenged him. He said, "Yes, I'm waiting for you to beat me. Why don't you go ahead?" So, "You will see me do it," the other boy threatened. "Now you'll see." Okay. So Ranji waited. The other boy made a strange hissing sound. Like snakes do something angrily. Okay. So they stared at each other in the eye for almost 1 minute. Then the warrior slapped Ranji across the face with all the force he could muster. See, the fighting began. Okay, the warrior slapped Ranji. Ranji staggered. Okay, Ranji was not going to take it. Ranji felt weak. He felt unsteady because the blow was quite, strong. He felt quite dizzy. His head was spinning because there were thick red finger marks on his cheek. A war had started, isn't it? "There you are!" exclaimed his assailant. Assailant refers to the person who attacks. Here, his enemy. Okay, or adversary. Right. So he attacked Ranji. So the warrior, slapped Ranji across the face with the force he could muster, and Ranji staggered, feeling dizzy. And there were thick red marks on his cheek. "There you are!" exclaimed his assailant. "Will you be off now?" he said. "Are you going to go?" For answer, Ranji swung his arm up and pushed a hard bony fist in the other's face. So Ranji was not going to just give away. What did he do? He just landed a blow or punch in the face of the other boy. Okay. And then they were at each other's throats. Means clutching and holding each other's throats, swaying on the rock. They were pushing and pulling at the rock. They were tumbling onto the sand, rolling over and over. Their legs and arms locked in desperate violent struggle, both trying to beat each other. Okay. Gasping and cursing, they were taking deep breath and violently cursing and throwing verbal abuses, clawing and slapping. They rolled into the shadows of the pool. Okay, they kept rolling. The fighting continued. Okay, even in the water, the fight continued as spluttering. Okay, means speaking quickly or confusingly. They had entered the pool, but even in the pool, the water continued as spluttering and covered with mud. They groped for each other's hand, means they tried to hold each other's hand and thought. But what happened? After, see, they were fighting violently as visible. The other boy was slightly bigger, isn't it? Ranji was quite smaller, but then he was quite courageous, right? So it's a wonderful picture that presents the story quite well. Okay, but after 5 minutes of frenzied, unscientific struggle, what happened? Neither boy had emerged victorious. Frenzied here refers to violent. There was so much violence there. None of the boys emerged victorious. Nobody win. Their bodies heaving with exhaustion. They were tired. They stood back from each other, making tremendous efforts to speak. They were now speaking instead. Okay. Now do you realize I'm a warrior? Gasped the stranger. He said, now do you realize I'm a warrior? Do you know I'm a fighter? Said Ranjit with difficulty. So Ranjit said, I'm a fighter as well. They gave a moment's consideration to each other's answer, and in that moment of silence, there was only their heavy breathing and the rapid beating of their hearts. Their hearts were beating. It was a moment of excitement for them. Then, you will not leave the pool, said the warrior. The warrior said, so you are not going to leave the pool? Ranjit said, I'll not leave it. Then we shall have to continue the fight, said the other. All right, said the Ranji. Ranji said, all right, said Ranji, not the Ranji. We can never place the before names, okay? So Ranji agreed that the fight should continue. But neither boy moved. Neither took the initiative to fight. Okay? The warrior had an inspiration. Inspiration here refers to an idea. He said, we'll continue to fight tomorrow. If you dare to, come here again tomorrow, we will continue this fight and I will not show you mercy as I've done today. So the boy was, blabbering and talking nonsense here. He said, let's continue the fight tomorrow and I'll show you what I can do. So Ranji said, I'll come tomorrow. I'll be ready for you. So they turned from each other then and going to the respective rocks, put on their clothes and left the forest by different routes. Okay. So with this we come to conclusion of the first part of the story, and then the second part remains. Hold on for a moment. Okay. Let's continue the second part as well, class. The comprehension check may continue some other time. Okay. So what are we going to read in the second part? We'll find out next day. The two claimants who claim that the pool belonged to them face each other across the pool. They throw challenges and counter challenge at each other. The best solution they realize lies not in fighting each other but fighting together for something. Okay. So when Ranji got home, he found it difficult to explain the cuts and bruises that show on his face, leg and arms. It was difficult to conceal the fact that he had been in an unusually violent fight, and his mother insisted on his staying at home for the rest of the day. Alright, his mother had realized that Ranji had been into fight. So that evening, though, he slipped out of the house and went to bazaar, where he found comfort and solace. He found comfort as well as solace where? In a bottle, vividly, means very clearly colored lemonade and a banana full of hot sweet jalebis. Okay, so boys are boys, isn't it? They quickly forget what happened. So Ranji went to market and then he gobbled up this lemonade as well as jalebi. So he had completely forgotten what had happened. He had just finished the lemonade when he saw his adversary, his enemy, coming down the road. His first impulse was to turn away and look elsewhere. His second was to throw the lemonade bottle at his enemy. But he did neither of these things. Instead, he stood his ground and scowled at his passing adversary. Means he looked angrily at his, opponent or enemy. And the warrior said nothing either but scowled back with equal ferocity. Means equal fierceness or equal anger. Alright. So now what will happen the next day? Let's find out. The next day was as hot as the previous one. Ranji felt weak and lazy and not at all eager for a fight. His body was stiff. His body had become quite hard and he was not able to move and sore after the previous day's encounter. They had this fight, isn't it? But he could not refuse the challenge. Not to turn up at the pool would be an acknowledgement of his defeat. Because if he withdraws or does not go, it would be like, he has accepted the defeat. From the way he felt just then, he knew he would be beaten in another fight. Okay, Ranji was sure he would be beaten. But he could not acquiesce, means accept quietly his own defeat. He must defy his enemy to the last or outwit him. He thought, he must use his brain, outwit him. Only then could he gain his respect, is what he thought. Because he felt if he surrendered now, he would be beaten for all the time. But to fight and be beaten today left him free to fight and be beaten again. Okay, he wanted dignity. Alright. As long as he fought, he had a right to the pool in the forest. He knew. Okay. So see, there is a message. We got to fight for the thing we like. Does not mean physical fight necessarily always. Okay. So now he was half hoping that the warrior would have forgotten the challenge. But these hopes were dashed away when he saw his opponent sitting, stripped to the waist, on a rock on the other side of the pool. Alright. The warrior was kind of rubbing oil on his body like people do usually. Okay. Before preparing themselves for something. Alright. He saw Ranji beneath the sal tree and called a challenge across the waters of the pool. He said, "Come over to the side and fight," he shouted. Okay. But Ranji was not going to submit to any condition laid down by his opponent. He said, "Come this side and fight," he shouted back with equal vigor. Alright, Ranji did not want to appear, weak or something. "Swim across and fight me here," called the other. "Or perhaps you cannot swim the length of this pool." So the other was mocking him. He said, "Come and swim across and fight me over here." "Oh, is it that you cannot swim across?" But Ranji could have swum the length of the pool a dozen times without tiring, and here he would show the warrior his superiority. Okay, so slipping out his vest, he dived straight into the water, cutting through it like a knife, and surfaced with hardly a splash. Means he showed no weakness. The warrior's mouth hung open in amazement. He was shocked. He was amazed. Okay. "You can dive," he exclaimed. He said, you know how to dive. So Ranji said, it is easy. He was treading water, waiting for a further challenge. He said, "Can't you dive?" The other one said, "No, I jump straight in. But if you will tell me how, I will make a dive." So Ranji said, it is easy. Now they were doing something else. Okay. He said, "Stand on the rock, stretch your arms out, and allow your head to displace your feet." So this position and detailing were all revealed by Ranji. Then the warrior, what did he do? He stood up stiff and straight, stretched out his arm and threw himself into the water. He landed flat on his belly with a crash that sent the birds screaming out of the tree. Okay, so Ranji was messing with him. Ranji dissolved into laughter. Ranji was laughing a lot when his opponent actually fell flat on stomach. Okay, so Are you trying to empty the pool? He asked as the warrior came to the surface, spouting water like a small well. Okay, so he said, what are you doing? Are you going to drink the entire water? Because he spouted water like a well, which is the choice word for description here. Okay, wasn't it good? Asked the boy, evidently proud of his fit. He thought he had done a good job. He said, not very good. We should have more practice. See, I'll do it again. So Ranji said, don't worry. You did not do a wonderful job. I'll do it again and show it to you. And pulling himself up on a rock, what did he do? He executed or shown another perfect dive. The other boy waited for him to come up, but swimming underwater, Ranji circled him and came upon from behind. Okay. So the other boy was now surprised. He said, how did you do that? And Ranji said, can't you swim underwater? No, but I'll try it, he said. Okay. So the warrior made a tremendous effort to plunge to the bottom of the pool, and indeed he thought he had gone right down, though his bottom, like a duck's, remained above surface. Okay. Ranji, however, did not discourage him. He said, it was not bad, but you need a lot of practice. So his enemy asked, will you teach me? He said, if you like, I will teach you. He said, you must teach me. If you do not teach me, I'll beat you. Will you come here every day and teach me? See, now the beating has changed now. He said, you must teach me. If you do not teach me, I'll beat you. Okay. He asked, will you come here? He said, yeah, if you like. So they had pulled themselves out of the water and were sitting side by side on a smooth grey rock. Okay. He said, my name is Suraj. What's yours? He said, it is Ranji. I'm strong, am I not? Asked Suraj. Okay, he was bending his arms so that a ball of muscle stood up, stretching the white of his flesh. Okay. So Ranji said, yes, you are strong. You are a real Pahalwan. Pahalwan is a Hindi word for strong. Okay, he said, you are a real Pahalwan. So one day I will be the world's champion wrestler. Suraj said, one day I'm going to be a champion wrestler. Okay. Slapping his thighs. Wrestlers have this habit. Okay, they slap their thigh, which shook the impact of his hand. He looked critically at Ranji's hard, thin body. He said, you are quite strong yourself. He just said, but you are too bony. Means you are full of bone. I know you people do not eat enough. You must come and have your food with me. I drink 1 seer means a unit of weight used previously in India. Seer, a little less than a liter. Okay. So he said, you must come and have your food. I drink 1 seer of milk every day. We have got our own cow. So he was inviting. See, from fighting, he was inviting him for lunch. He said, be my friend and I will make you a Pahalwan like me. I know if you teach me to dive and swim underwater, I'll make you a Pahalwan. That is fair, isn't it? So now see, the deal has changed. He said, you teach me how to cut through and swim and dive well, I'll make you a Pahalwan. Isn't it fair? So Ranjit said, yes, that's fair. Okay, though he doubted if he was getting the better of the exchange. Okay. Of course, he was getting the better of the exchange, isn't it? So Suraj put his arm around the younger boy and said, we are friends now. Yes? They looked at each other with honest, unflinching eyes. Okay. Means they were looking straight at each other. It was very clear now. Okay. And in that moment, love and understanding were born. Means they were now friends from enemies. So Ranji said, we are friends. The birds had settled again in their branches and the pool was quiet and limpid in the shade of the sal tree. Limpid refers to clear. Okay. It's our pool, said Suraj. Nobody else can come here without our permission. Who would dare? Who would dare? Said Ranji, smiling with the knowledge that He had won the day. Okay. So see, this is what wit can do. And this is the conclusion of a lovely story, a short story rather, written by Ruskin Bone, wherein we have learned how a small boy had shown extreme courage on facing challenge from a relatively stronger and smarter boy, and eventually they turned out to become friends instead of enemies, isn't it? So this is the conclusion of the lesson, class. Let's take a look at the kind of question we have and let's wind up. Okay. To see, comprehension check. What is it that Ranji finds difficult to explain at home? His cut, bruises, and all those things. So Ranji sees his adversary in the bazaar. So what does he wish to do? He wishes to throw lemon and to do something else. So what does he actually do and why? We all know that, right? So Ranjit is not at all eager for a second fight. Ranji, why does he go back to the pool then? He did not want to conceal defeat, isn't it? So who was the better swimmer? Of course, Ranji. How do you know it? Because he cut through and dived quite easily. What surprised the warrior? The skill of Ranji, as in terms of swimming and diving and cutting through and dipping or diving deep underwater, with some skill. Now that they are at the pool, why don't they continue the fight? What is the reason? We have known. So 7, 8, 9 class all are similar. Try and do this. Then there are more exercises. What are they? Discuss the following with small groups. Is fighting the only way to resolve difference in opinion? What else can be done to reach mutually acceptable settlements? If fighting is not the solution, dialogue or maybe a game could decide sometime, isn't it? Have you ever been in a serious fight only to realize later that it was unnecessary? So, yeah, fight do not lead us anywhere. Okay, it's not necessary. Why do some of us find it necessary to prove that we are better than others? Will you be amused or annoyed to read the following sign at the back of the car in front of you? I may be going slow, but I'm ahead of you. So yeah, different perspective. Then we have think over class. So this is the conclusion of the lesson. At home, what you can do is re-study this lesson, find out the word meanings, and things will be quite simple and wonderful for you. Okay? Yes? Yes or no? I believe things will be clear, right? So let's conclude the session here, class. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Have a great time.